All right, welcome to the second episode. I think that deserves a round of applause. And another thing is first episode as well. Yeah, we managed to get to thingy, bro. I mean, currently we're sitting on 35 views, which I think that's something to celebrate as well, or to be part about, for like a newly podcast,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. At least it's not. I thought it would be like five or something. Like I didn't think people would actually like see it or watch it. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, no. We definitely that we definitely in the space to crash it, bro. Uh,
Yeah.
but tell me though, how's your week been? I think our the one thing that our audience is going to um, catch on is that we pretty much have this conversations like or this podcast once a week at the moment. But I think we might start doing like two episodes a week and all of that. But how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been all right, man. Yeah, just planning my moves because I'm moving soon, like less than a month now before I go to Vietnam. So I'm just planning it, and that's kind of one of the things I started to notice. It really sucks if you're just always moving because like it takes a lot of like energy and effort to like be thinking of that and doing that. Whereas like when you're set in like a one spot, it's like you can just focus on like living your life. You can take it easy if you want, um, and you just have more time to focus on yourself, your work. It's just much easier. Whereas if you're constantly moving, eventually it takes up too much time and energy.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you've pretty much figured out you know how to settle in, because I mean, again, I'm gonna go back to us meeting, for the first time. You were in that guest house for a month, or by the time that I came through, you're like, hey, I'm gonna be here for a month and all those sort of things. And for me, it was, it was still more like, hey, I'm still trying to find a place whereby uh, I'm comfortable in the sense of just maybe there's a lot of like other nomads in that particular place, So one of the things actually that I use to find if I can't find something solid or sustainable on Google is I'll look for like cafes in a particular spot. So if a spot or if an area does not have a lot of cafes, for me, that tells me that there isn't a lot of nomads, and if there's a bunch of cafes, that then kind of tells me that there could be a lot of nomads in that particular space or place. So with Karen Beach, there wasn't nothing, bro. Like, I mean, I had to. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the lady that works at our guest house told me that there's one. I can't remember where she said it was, but I remember I'd walk and wander and couldn't find it. And
Yeah.
I think maybe I ended up having a couple of conversations with you, and if I remember correctly, you were like, you make your coffee or your tea at home. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I figured out, which I guess that was like a common thing for us, was that you're a fan of peanut butter, right?
Oh yeah, I'm allergic to peanut butter. Yeah. You remember that?
No, wait, are you not a fan?
No, I will die if I eat peanut butter.
Oh, I thought you were a fan. I
No, I
thought you were a fan
will.
for some weird reason.
What's that?
I thought you were a fan. I thought you loved. I thought I saw you make like a peanut butter sandwich.
No, I would like literally die if I ate it.
Has it?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Maybe was there peanut butter at the guest house we were at? Don't.
There used to be a huge peanut butter jug, and I thought I would see you eat it or something.
No, I definitely wasn't me. I think actually I remember though there was peanut butter at the place. And so I was a little bit
Yeah,
like careful or paranoid. I think because like I was like, okay, if I clean the because we had to clean the dishes too, like as part of being there. And then I remember thinking like, okay, like if they use peanut butter and then wipe the thing, because peanut butter is very sensitive. Peanut allergies. I don't know if you have it in Africa, but In the West, it's
Yeah.
like, especially in North America, actually, maybe not even Europe, but in North America, it's common and it's very, very serious. So like even a small amount can like trigger a very serious reaction. It can basically kill people. A lot of people actually die from it. So
Are you
yeah,
serious, bro?
yeah, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. And yeah, that was a huge thing when it was like I was planning to come to Thailand. I was like, can I do this actually with this very serious allergy? Because it's a very serious consideration. Here they don't, maybe they don't respect that the seriousness of the allergy or anything like that. So that's almost a whole different thing. I can make like an entire YouTube video about or like on a podcast about like traveling with the peanut allergy because yeah, that was something that was like a huge thing I had to consider before making the move to Thailand.
Yeah, I mean that's actually quite interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's for me. That's a lesson. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what you're speaking about now. I didn't know that there's such a thing. There's a thing such as like a peanut butter allergy that could be that severe or something. You
Yeah.
know. Um, but yeah. So that's one of the things that I use to sort of locate if a place has like a lot of nomads. Because I at the same time like especially because I've been solo traveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have like a steady partner or anything like that, right?
Uh-huh.
So I always want to be in a place whereby it's still easy for me to make friends. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah, so you value
um,
being around other nomads. You value like being around other travelers, like similar people to you.
yeah, I do, bro. I don't want to be totally secluded.
Uh-huh.
Because I mean at the end of the day I'm already traveling by myself,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's already me. That's already some sort of extent of me being secluded or something. But essentially, whenever I get to into any place, like even the time that we met, like in Phuket, it was more me trying to find a place whereby there's other people that either just other nomads basically, and that's how I
Yeah.
came. That's how I ended up in Karen. you know.
Okay, yeah,
But
yeah.
Karen then taught me a newer lesson to say, no, instead of you reading blogs from different travel bloggers that will, tell you that Karen is a digital nomad sport, rather look into that place and see if there's any cafes. Because if there isn't any
Yeah.
cafes, chances are there isn't any enough nomads in that particular place because a lot of nomads, myself included, you want to go to a cafe and work from a cafe. You want to interchange from like working from home and also working from a cafe as well. So that's the one thing that I then learned about being in Karen Beach. When we then met, and that's how I ended up finding Hawaii as well because Hawaii has a lot of spots or like a lot of cafes that you can sit down at and just do your work.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of you, you were saying, you've got a struggle in terms of, just you know, settling down or something, which is something that I was saying that I think you seem like you figured it out. What's your move now like when you go to Vietnam? Do you go there and you sort of scout around for a little bit in the sense of just moving between places up until you find your comfort place, or do you like book a place for long term before you even fly there?
Yeah, I don't like to move around too much. I do actually kind of envy you and like when I see you, like, because you travel very light, so you can like hop around like quick. So I feel like that is kind of like cool and exciting too. Like I can definitely see the value in that because you can more quickly access more places and like learn more things and find the place that you like the
Yeah.
most. But for me, no, like I think right now I booked a hotel for 2 weeks. Like it's not paid, so I can cancel it. Um, but I typically I want to like stay for a while. I don't want to like move like every week or like all the time like that. I find that to be annoying. Like I used to book like maybe a hotel for like 4 or 5 days, and I always found it to be like way too soon to move out. Like, it was really annoying. I didn't like it. So I booked a hotel for 2 weeks, and yeah, the plan is to find a place to rent um, within that time before the 2 weeks is up. And in terms of finding, I think I've seen some listings on Facebook that are decent,
Okay.
and yeah, otherwise maybe just walk around, try to find something, use word of mouth, that kind of deal as well.
Yeah, quick one. Since you mentioned Facebook now, right? What are
Yeah.
you mostly looking? What are you mostly using? Like in terms of like, whenever you're looking for a place in, whether you are already in that particular country or whether you travel into that country, are you more using Airbnb, Facebook,
Yeah,
bookings.com? I know Agoda is quite popular
yeah, yeah.
as well in India. Yeah.
I think like Agoda and Booking is like more for like short term. I don't think I think if you do it for like long term, you'll still get like the daily rate. So it's like, it's not worth it. Like, it'll be too expensive. But for long term rental, I usually look on Facebook. That's where I think the best place to look for if you're trying to find it before you go, or like if you just want to find it online, probably Facebook. I think Airbnb is like illegal in Thailand and it's not sanctioned well in Vietnam, so I wouldn't use it. I could be wrong with the Vietnam one, but I know in Thailand for sure it's illegal. Um, yeah, so I use Facebook. Or you can use like, word of mouth and try to figure out and kind of see. So, for example, the place I'm staying at right now in Chiang Mai, I actually stayed here this is a hotel basically, but I stayed here as a daily guest last year. And so I noticed it was like a very nice kind of chill location. They have like a workspace downstairs. And, I looked at the price. They also had monthly rates. And it was not a bad price. It was actually very cheap too. And so for me, I kind of like noted this place down as like something I may consider to live at in the future. And yeah, sure enough, when I plan my move to Chiang Mai, I asked them, and then they're like, "Yeah, you can stay here at a monthly rate."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it looks like a pretty much decent spot. I don't want to lie to you.
Yeah,
Have
it's
you
very
have
good.
you have you ever had any bad experiences when it comes to like booking a place and maybe just not being on the same page with the owner of the place or with the landlord?
Uh, no, no, nothing crazy. I guess the worst was maybe the first time. Actually, the first time we came to Chiang Mai, like we were new to Thailand, so I stayed at like a hotel in Bangkok for like 2 days. That was nice, but it was expensive. And then we came to Chiang Mai, and that was when we realized like the pictures um that we saw on the listing, like it's still the same place, but it makes it look so much better than how it actually is when you come and see it in person. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No,
that was
exactly.
yeah, because it looked like a two-bedroom thing and everything, and it was just
Yeah,
it wasn't really like that. It was like more like run down and kind of like just put together. Whereas in the pictures, it looked like a very nice, well built establishment. So that was a bit of a shock, and that's pretty
yeah,
common actually. I think that kind of vibe, maybe not that as extreme as that first one, but it can happen a lot, especially in like Vietnam. Some of the pictures look very nice, but then you see it in person. It's the same place. They didn't lie, but it doesn't look anywhere near as nice in person.
yeah.
Um,
It's like they're using a proper camera, or for the time that they're listing the place online, they just make sure that the place is like totally clean. Oh, who knows? Maybe they're using AI. Who
yeah.
knows? Because I mean, AI is such a thing now. But I can remember two instances. There's one time, actually, the time that actually when we met, like or after we met, and I was supposed to leave. Well, I was leaving Phuket to go to Bangkok because I'd never been to Bangkok,
Hmm.
and I got to Bangkok I think around 9, 10 p.m. So it was already late, you know. But I had booked a place already, and when I went in to check in, they wanted a copy of my passport, and I didn't have a copy of my passport. But I had my passport with me, obviously.
Okay.
But they couldn't allow me to check in,
What?
and the lady that works there, this lady is not so good in English.
Yeah.
So the worst part about that as well is that when she speaks with me, I feel like she's been rude to me,
Oh,
you know,
okay. Yeah.
because maybe instead of saying, "Hey, you can't check in, you have to leave and go get a copy," or something of your passport.
Yeah.
She'll say something within the line, so you gotta go away.
Oh,
For me at that particular point, I'm thinking she's chasing me away, right?
yeah.
And then, yeah, but then I couldn't check in, bro. I definitely just couldn't check in because there was no spot whereby I could go get a printout of my copy of my passport.
Oh, yeah, because it's
So
nighttime, right?
yeah, it was nighttime. It was like 10 p.m., so I kept on, trying to speak with the eventually I couldn't check in. I complained with bookings.com, and this was the first time that I realized that bookings.com does not give you your money back unless if the landlord agrees to it. Because
Oh,
I told them exactly as to what happened.
yeah.
And they're like, hey, listen, we totally understand as to what you're saying. We'll hear from the landlord or from the owner of the place. If he's happy to give you the money back, then we'll give you your money back. So that was the one first experience. So, but I mean, essentially, what I had to do was I had to look for another place whereby I could book, but it was already late. But
Oh,
eventually I got a place, and it was a nice place as well.
damn. Yeah,
And
that's
the
crazy.
second, yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy because like usually they can just copy it. Like you don't have to bring. Yeah, technically they I think the travel advice is make sure you have some photocopies. But like typically you just hand them the passport. They'll make a copy for themselves. Like they'll scan it or whatever. Like you don't need to do anything, right? You just give. You had your passport, right?
yeah, I had the passport with me because obviously we in a foreign country.
Yeah. So
You always gotta use your passport to like your passport is like your identity, right?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta use it to travel. But
So that's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, like that's crazy to me that you needed like a paper copy. Like they couldn't just take a picture or like do it themselves. Yeah.
yeah, bro. And I mean, I kept on telling the lady, I'm like, yo, listen, maybe just take my actual um, passport, keep it, and then you guys give it to me in the morning. Because I'm thinking they trying to use it as an identity thing. Like, if something was to happen in the establishment, if I was to break anything, they've got my identity and all those sort of things, and they can be able to say this person did this and all of that. So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, try keep my 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 passport, and she wasn't having it, but at the same time, the lady that works there had limited vocabulary, so it was very difficult for
Yeah.
me to communicate with her.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah. I feel like you should definitely get a refund for that. That's wild. Yeah.
I didn't get a refund, but luckily it was just like for one night,
Okay.
and the second and last one was actually in Patang, right?
Patong,
Which
Phuket.
is it Phuket, Patang?
Patong. Yeah, like the city in Phuket.
No, no, not Patong. So this is like in the same landscape as Bangkok. So this is
Okay.
Patang.
Okay. So is it? It's a city. It's a place in Bangkok.
It's a place which is like maybe a 5 hour bus drive from Bangkok.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
So when I went to Chiang Mai,
Yeah.
I took a bus from Patang to Bangkok, got to Bangkok, got a train from Bangkok, that overnight train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai.
Okay.
Yeah, but then another experience there was and I did the same thing that how you currently would book your place now, which is something that I try to stay away from. But I saw a super, super, super nice place. Um, and I booked it for, I think it was for like 7 nights or like 2 weeks, so I think it was about, I don't know, 7,000 baht, I think. And got to the place, and the place was just too secluded, bro. I got there, the place looks exactly as to what it looks like,
Okay.
but I just felt like I was all alone in that particular place.
Oh.
I kind of like places that are like a little bit central based, in the sense that I can just wake up in the morning, uh, and just go grab a cup of coffee from somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the only negative thing about that place. But either way, what happened there was that I just tried to just get my money from the landlord, or from the agency that was hosting the place, um, and they didn't want to.
Okay.
Called my bank. My the money got called my bank, complained, um, and then my bank wanted something from me, which is like an authorization letter from that company saying that my booking was a mistake or something, that my booking was a mistake. So I created one myself, sent it through to the bank. They refunded me the money,
Uh-huh.
and then I went to another place. But when I woke up in the morning, bookings.com had come back into my bank account and took the money back. When I
Oh.
went back to the place to complain and all those sort of things, the the place it's hosted by like an agency. So I think it's like a professional property agency and all that. They just didn't want to give me my money back. They're like, no,
Okay.
we're not going to give you your money back. You made the booking. You were supposed to cancel like prior in two days before or something. I'm like, the booking literally happened. Like the same time that the booking happened was for the same day. So
Oh, yeah.
eventually I lost the 7,000 bahts in that whole particular thing.
Oh, damn. Yeah. So yeah, this sounds like
Yeah.
somewhat of a serious thing, like a back and forth, and like the banks are involved, and like you're canceling, they're telling you you can't, and all that.
Yeah, I guess I guess obviously what I did there was just to call the bank and say, hey, I think I, pocket booked a place, whilst my phone is in my, pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys please help me? Because that money is out of your account, but it's still not yet with the owners, and all those sort of things.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So that's basically what happened. So when I call the bank, they're like, okay, cool, no, it's fine. Go to the place or call the place and get an authorization letter from them stipulating exactly as to what you're saying to us, and then
Yeah.
we'll refund you your money.
Okay.
So
So you kind of made that yourself.
I did the authorization thing by myself and then
Oh.
sent it to the bank. Money came back into my account. I was happy, went and booked the same place that I was at the prior nights and all of that. But by the time that I woke up in the morning, the money was gone. And that's when I
Oh.
started going back and forth with that place,
Oh. Did you go
But
back to the
eventually,
place in
what I got from
person?
all those say it again?
Did you go back to the place in person?
Yeah, I went back to like when the
Oh.
booking happened the first time, I drove there because I remember I wanted, I was booking the place,
Yeah.
you know? So I wanted to see as to where the place is. But then I realized that the place is like, I don't know, like 30 minutes. This place it's very secluded, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's a nice place, don't get me wrong, right? But you can't wake up and say that you're gonna go walk to a cafe and get a cup of coffee and all those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those things whereby it's a nice place to be in, but then anytime that you want to do anything outside of the house, it's a trip.
You have
You
to
need to
like
make a trip,
drive. You have to.
you
Oh,
know.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like very. It's kind of like a resort. It's like secluded. Like you can't
it's
really.
a resort, and I think you're right, exactly. That's actually what they call it. It's called something something resort.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And yeah, that if you don't have, especially if you're not like you don't have a motorbike and you're not willing to like drive, like that can really suck. Because you always have to like, especially for you, like you're by yourself, like you said, you're not like there with your family, so you're basically you're gonna want to get out. Like you want to like go somewhere when you wake up. You don't just gonna like stay there.
Yeah, obviously because you're traveling by yourself. So essentially, I'm not sure with you, but then I want to be in a place whereby yes, I'm by myself, but at the same time, like as soon as I step out, I'm able to like meet, strangers,
Yeah, yeah,
that could, possibly be friends, things like that, or
yeah,
just sort of find a community as well, as opposed to just basically just doing stuff by myself every single day.
yeah, yeah. Like more of like a work environment. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Tell me, right? So, one of the things, the whole, being a nomad, for you, right? Have you always known that you wanted to be a nomad, or and when you did make that decision to say this is what, I want to pursue my own things. How did you transition from? We spoke about this the last time, right? To say that you worked in banking, right? And from that particular point, from that particular point, you then started doing your own thing, which is what you've got going on now, right? You have an online fitness coaching program, basically for anyone, which is quite nice. Like I can access it if I want to. It doesn't matter if, whether I'm in South Africa or whether I'm in a different country. I could, you could teach me how to, have a fitness lifestyle, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, have you always known that you wanted to, you want to be a nomad? And how was that transition, from like a corporate point of perspective to you eventually becoming a nomad? As much as obviously, uh, each and every business has its own struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like these targets that you want to hit in your business that I'm sure you're still trying to figure out ways in terms of how to hit those targets. Likewise, same for me as well. Like I've got targets in my business whereby I'd love to reach those targets, and I'm always trying to work around as to how to hit those targets.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, like I did not always know I wanted to be a nomad. For me, it was more so just a thing that kind of made sense as sort of the next step to do. Once I was working in corporate, once I saved up a lot of money, and it just became like the clear decision that I had to do, like start my own business, because this is what's going to give me all the leverage. This is what's going to give me this is where the right step I need to take. Because like most people, like they probably start staying corporate and then they slowly advance their career. It's very slow. They're getting a mortgage. It's a very slow paced lifestyle. And I know that that's cool, but for me it's like there in this modern world there's so much opportunity and there's so much leverage to grab. You can like scale so much now with like the internet and everything. So for me it was like this
Yeah.
is clearly the next step to take. Yeah, and on top of that, like a lot of people I looked up to at the time, like Hamza, I don't know, I know you said you don't really know him, but like self
We'll get
improvement.
him. We'll get him. Hamza, 10th episode. We're gonna get you as a guest. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Continue. Continue. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can always dream. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Hamza and Jack Hopkins. There's a few like YouTubers, like self improvement YouTubers, that I looked up to, and basically, yeah, they're all kind of like of the same mindset of yeah, you need to like yeah, start your online business. This is clearly the next step in self improvement. You've done your fitness, you leveled up your habits, you leveled up your discipline, you leveled up your social skills, all these other things that were holding you back before. And now the next thing is to like level up your money, and that starts by like building something scalable and with leverage, which is like an online business. And especially with Jack
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopkins, his story was like very much he just moved to Thailand with nothing, and then he became a millionaire. So
Sorry, who's that?
Jack Hopkins, he's kind of like
Say the surname again.
Hopkins.
Hopkins. The name sounds familiar. I don't want to lie.
Well, there's a disease called like Hopkins, I think, as well. So
Okay.
I don't think that's yeah, this is a different thing.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
it's the name of the disease that sounds
yeah,
familiar.
yeah, but
Yeah. But what about Jack? Yeah.
yeah, he's like very much like similar, like kind of like a self improvement YouTuber, and yeah, he moved to Thailand with like nothing and just a dream. He also was like just similar. He worked a job. He kind of was like, this isn't for me. I need more from life. He moved to Thailand. He went like broke, and then he just started making money, and then he managed to scale his business, and now became a millionaire. Moved to Dubai and everything else.
That's
So
quite amazing, bro. Like it's quite amazing that you've got like all this people that you aspire to be like, because I think what's nice about that is that uh, because you aspire to be like them, you kind of follow as to what they do, through across all their social media, across all their platforms, basically. It kind of gives you some sort of guideline in terms of what they're doing, in terms of what basically catapult their career, whether that was, a thing, a thing of them doing something and, just like with you now, right? I think you can be a good example of that, right? You currently sitting on, I'm gonna average this out. You're currently sitting on 1,000 subscribers, so on your personal channel, so if with your day ones being like your day one fans, that follow, that are always looking for that Bishma, notification for like a video and all those sort of things. And, you know, they aspire to be like you. They kind of see as to what you're doing, which is making you catapult, which is making you go from like point A to point B. So I do feel like you having, like the likes of like Jack Hopkins, who's this again? Hamza as well. It kind of gives you kind of see as to what they're doing, and you sort of just emulate it, but then also just being yourself as well, right? But then you put in one or two things that they're doing and into your being, and you see as to how that does for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But going back into the like the nomad thing as well. For me, it was it was I've always known that I want to be a nomad. I've always well, not a nomad per se, but I've always known that I wanted to do my own thing. I
Okay.
didn't know what a nomad was probably at that particular point. But I think I
Like what
probably
aspect of
one.
that? Like is it the traveling, the freedom? You mean in that sense, like you always knew you wanted to have that kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, true, true, bro. Basically that, So I think financial freedom, obviously,
Okay.
above anything else. Like I think I've always known that for me to acquire the type of financial freedom that I want to acquire or like attain, it's never gonna be through a 9 to 5 job. I've always known that I have to be doing my own thing. I have to do something whereby whatever money that I'm making is it's my money, you know, and maybe I can build that and get employees, etc., and all those sort of things, But then financial freedom was one of those things, you know. Time freedom was one of those things as well. I value time a lot, and not from like an excuse point perspective. And I think you would know that as well. Like I'm very much active, but the reason as to why I'm active as well is because of time freedom. Like I I jog, frequently. I hike a lot as well. I do yoga and all those sort of things. And this is due to me having been able to attain that a little bit of that time freedom, if that makes any sense.
So do you
Like
mean
I'm not waking up in the morning, and it's not to say from 8 o'clock. I don't have to be at a particular office block from 8 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. I
okay,
can just
okay.
be
Yeah,
anywhere that I
yeah.
want, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the time freedom thing, and also just obviously using however way that you want to use that time. Whether that's you spending time with family, you traveling, etc., and all those sort of things. And I think the last thing was like location independency. Like I strive, or like the whole idea of just basically, and I guess that's where the whole nomadic concept comes about as well. Whereby once you can figure out the financial freedom part or aspect, you if you like to travel, then you can travel. So that's where so basically those three things. So time freedom, location independency, um, and financial freedom as well. And I do think to like a certain extent, or to a certain level, myself and you basically being able to acquire those things to a certain level. You know what I'm saying? As much as we obviously still have a lot, like a lot of like goals to achieve and all those sort of things. But for the fact that I'm speaking with you now, and you are in a totally different country, and you're speaking about going to another country, for me that tells me that you've, you know, got into a level whereby you've acquired a certain level of thinking financial freedom. And with that comes all this other stuff: time freedom, location independency, and all those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, those are definitely like huge benefits to, being a nomad and being your own boss and that kind of thing where it's like starting your own business. It's like you do get the time freedom. Like you don't have to do the 9 to 5 like you're saying. You kind of choose the time that you're working, to choose the time that you're free. and the location is huge as well. I think location. I summarize. I read one of the book summaries. I do a lot of book summaries on ChatGPT because that's I can't read all the books, but like I can read the ChatGPT summary. And one of the books, I think it
Yeah.
was like 48 Laws of Power, or maybe it was something else, something about money. It was a money
Okay.
book. Yeah, it wasn't 48 Laws of Power, but it was a money book, and it said like actually what's a lot more valuable than just purely earning like more money is like your location, because your location gives you like everything, like your power. If you can reduce that, for example, by traveling to Asia, that would be huge. And then also like it greatly upgrades your quality of lifestyle. So to afford
Yeah.
this, yeah, a nice lifestyle in Canada might be very, very expensive, but to afford a nice
I remember
lifestyle.
you. I remember you used. Can you use that example? I remember the last time that we spoke, and this could have been just offline, but you used an example about like $50 to say
Oh
$50
yeah.
is like very minimal in Canada, but in
Yeah.
Thailand it's like, hey, listen, we're rich for like a day or two. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, like what I remember. Yeah, what I told you was like, yeah, it feels like in Canada, it's like even every time you step out of your house, it's like minus $50. Like even just for the most basic, like that sounds crazy, but even just the basic things, like if you get a train ticket, a coffee, and lunch, like that's going to be almost $50, bro. Like that's like 20 for lunch, $13 train ticket, $5 coffee. It all starts adding up very, very fast. Yeah, but
that's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy.
whereas in Thailand, yeah, $50, that's more than 1,000 baht, and that's a lot, bro. You can in Chiang Mai especially, like which is my favorite place in Thailand. You can definitely party for like the whole night for 1,000 baht. Like you can have you can do a lot with 1,000 baht in Thailand, even in like the more expensive parts of Thailand. But especially, for example, in Chiang Mai, that's food for like half a week. That's entertainment. If you want to have a crazy night out, you can go and do that. So yeah, it's just the
Yeah, a thousand
different.
baht. 1,000 baht is a lot of money in Thailand. I
Yeah,
I, I I think even if you just like minimally leaving, I think it could also sustain you for like a good week. I'm not. I mean, I don't eat 3 times a day. I'm not like. I'm more like sometimes I eat once or twice. So 1,000 baht then becomes a lot of money.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
eating a lot of fruits as well because I love fruits, and fruits are obviously cheap in Thailand as well. Like your
yeah. That's a huge
dragon
thing for
fruits and all
you.
the other
Yeah,
fruits.
yeah, because like you like the kind of more natural foods, right? Like the fruits and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You mentioned a very important point, and again, this was something that I'm only been privy to that now, maybe ever since traveling, and ever since maybe thinking from things from like a global point of perspective, as opposed to like thinking about things. So like when I think about a business nowadays, I don't think about it from like, hey, is this good for my community here where I am? It's more like I think of something in the sense that can this serve a lot of people in the world, or like worldwide, basically. And when we're speaking about the whole nomad, or you wanting to be a nomad, you spoke about the fact that as soon as you get yourself into that hub or community, you start thinking about things from like a global point of perspective, whereby even with the cost that you have now, um, you can literally sell it to anyone in the world as long as those people have access to you. And I think that's one of the things that being a nomad, that's the type of perspective that you start getting once you start traveling, because you start thinking that, oh, okay, cool, I can literally build something and sell it to the public. But then your public is not, you don't think about your customers or your clients as the people that are like physically in that particular place with you. You
yeah,
think of them as like anyone that can relate to what I'm doing. They could potentially be a buyer. But at the same time, because you're a nomad, you maybe also have some sort of guideline in terms of how to access them. You know,
yeah, yeah. And that's something
just
that,
like
yeah, yeah, I agree. And that's
just like you've
something,
been you've been growing your YouTube channel, your tech, like all of your platforms.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think through that you probably have you know probably a global audience, if I'm not, if I'm not mistaken. You
Yeah,
probably
like
like
there's
there's
people
probably
from
like a
all over
person
the
in every
place.
single country that's probably familiar with you or something like that. You never really know, right? I'm not sure if you've checked out the analytics.
Yeah, yeah, there's people from all over the place. India, then Europe, and we got Asia, North America, Canada, and America. So yeah, there's definitely a lot. And that's something that kind of, I kind of like already know that, like, and maybe you do as well. Like you already kind of, and so it's funny that you brought it up because I realized that, yeah, like a lot of people don't see it in this kind of light. Because for me, it's kind of like second nature. Like when you said that you can access people globally, I'm like, of course, right? But the thing is, a
Yeah,
lot of people don't think like that. Like they're
yeah,
actually like very, very limited. I remember my cousin. We were talking about like he was
yeah.
telling me. So I know you had an issue with one of your cousins too, but I actually had a similar thing with one of my cousins before I left Canada in 2024. But he's basically like, this is a terrible idea. Like, no one's gonna buy your course. You're not fit. You're never gonna be, at the top of the ladder. You're never gonna be these guys that have millions of subs and all these other things. He's saying like a bunch of random stuff. I'm like, none of it made sense because I'm like, I don't need to beat them. I'm definitely fit. Maybe you don't see it that way. But the biggest thing that was that like, he felt as though everyone else in the world is going to think exactly like him, which is crazy. Because like, for example, I made like a very clear example. You can follow this logic too. If I get 1,000 views on a YouTube video, right? Yeah, maybe most of them aren't going to buy from me, right? But out of 1,000 people, surely 10 of them, surely like 50 of them or 10 of them are going to buy my or go get my lead magnet for free, right? Surely
Yeah.
three of them are going to book a call to they're going to be interested. They're going to want to figure out maybe they can see if I can help them become more fit. And maybe one of them might buy from me because he might really believe in it and he really wants to make the change. Obviously, yes, 900 people might not do all of that, but the point is that there are people who are willing to do that, right? You have access to the globe. There's people all around the globe. Everyone's different, and he couldn't understand that. He's like, no one's gonna do it. This is terrible. No one wants to do it.
Quick one. Is your cousin well traveled? Has he traveled?
Not really. I think he actually does. He actually travels a bit
Maybe
now.
not to the United States, because I feel like you guys are so super close to the United States.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then
So
has he traveled
basically,
outside of Canada and the United States?
he's in the Navy. So basically, like they do travel to like different countries. They'll like set up in like Thailand and Asia. They'll go to different places all over the place in England, all these places. But I feel like when he does that though, like they don't travel like us. Like they don't like explore and like go out on their own. They kind of just stay at the base or they like stay in the groups or they'll meet up
That's
with
what I wanted to
some.
say. Like he's well traveled, but he's his travel is it's a little bit it's a little bit secluded, or it's a little bit private, as opposed to
Yeah.
you. I mean, you can literally, you're exposed to everything, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
You literally exposed to everything. So your type of travel is totally different from his type of travel.
Yes,
But
it's like we
your
take the
cousin,
initiative. Yeah, like he's kind of just going with the.
his is more like it's a mandate from the job to say you have to do this.
Yeah.
With you, you had to like put that initiative upon yourself to say, hey, I want to do this. It was at first it was an idea, and then after that, you had to put that idea into action. But your cousin is literally the same as my a lot of my friends that I grew up with. And these are still guys that I still interact with till today. We have like fun conversations and all those sort of things. And I could be being a little bit repetitive now, but one of the things that I picked up on artist with, at friends, the friend group that I came up that I created whilst traveling, is that you guys are shooters, bro. You guys are shooters. I've never met anyone that's traveling that will say they want to do this and they're not doing it. It's almost, here's what I'm doing, or it's always, this is what I'm doing, or it's always, I'm doing this and this and this. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like you're always gonna find a person that's like maybe focused on one thing, or they're doing multiple things.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, it just put me into a different realm, because it's like, damn, these guys are like, a lot of these guys are like super, super focused, but then they super focused in a very, you know, a lot of these guys have, sort of, like yourself, right? As much as you working on your business, but you still, you still go to gym and you still, do a lot of like personal stuff that you into and all those sort of things. So it's a very balanced type of hustle. It's not to say that you're super, super focused, but you're not doing or you're not pursuing any of your personal interest, whatever personal interest that is, right? But with a lot of guys that I grew up with, those guys are quite stagnant, bro. Like these guys, and I don't say that in a bad way, but a lot of them have, it's either they have ideas or concepts in terms of what they want, what they want to do, what they want to achieve and all those sort of things, but chances are you're very likely to have that type of conversation with that person today, and next year when you have another conversation with them, they'll still tell you, oh, by the way, that idea that I had last year, I still have it this year as well, and it's still something that I still want to pursue. And it's like, damn, like,
Yeah.
so since last year you never decided to pursue it.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
they'll tell you every single reason as to why they can't,
Yeah.
they couldn't do it. And same with the podcast as well, Um, uh, I've always wanted to tap into the space for quite a bit of time, or like for the longest time. But I've always wanted to like find a person to do it with and all those sort of things. Not knowing that the best person to do it with, based actually and mostly based on the concept of the podcast as well, would have to be either one of the super close friends that I've made traveling, you know, because imagine if I was to have this type of podcast with a friend that I grew up with. Yeah, it would be nice as well in the sense that maybe they would have a lot of things. They would have like an opposite or like a very traditional perspective to everything.
Mhm.
But I remember just to, try get a person to do this with. It was a hustle. All of my friends were busy, but
Yeah.
I can tell you now, busy doing nothing. That's I can tell you now. They were busy, but basically busy doing nothing. But then obviously with that you introspect, and through introspection, you are able to, you are able to align and say, oh, by the way, the thing that I actually want to do, the best way to kind of do it or get it executed is by doing it with maybe a friend that I met whilst traveling or something like that. And that's exactly as to what we've done now here, right?
Mhm.
And even if you remember the time that we, that I started speaking about this to you, it didn't take us a week to get the first episode out.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think there's something about that that's actually very interesting. There's a unique skill there that's super interesting about yourself, which is
Yeah.
you you execute. You know what I'm saying? You are able to see through the mist or through the fog and say, okay, cool, let's get it done, let's do it. If it fails, it fails. If it succeeds, it succeeds. Which
Yeah.
but that's the one thing that I picked up with the traditional. I want to say traditional friends that I sort of grew up with, and I kind of
I
look at your cousin,
definitely
from
agree. Yeah.
from the same perspective. What's your cousin saying now about you? Yeah, I mean, you've literally built the community now. So when last you had a conversation with them, and how does the conversation look like?
I haven't really had a
Is it like, bro,
conversation.
you proved me wrong,
No, I
or
haven't really
what?
had a conversation with him since. Um, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm at the position where I can fully be like, you proved me wrong yet. I feel like I want to wait a little bit longer on that. But at the same time, I don't think he's someone who will like admit to, like doing that. Like he'll probably be like, "Oh, I was just giving you advice," or like, "I was just joking," or like, "Listen, man, like, it's not that serious," or something like that. Like he'd probably be like, "Oh, you took it so seriously," and stuff like that. Um,
But that's the thing about a passion, right? I take passion seriously. I remember even with the podcast, I had this other traditional friend of mine, and he's like, no, podcasting doesn't have money. And he's like, you can have 1 million likes, and YouTube is not going to pay you. I'm like, what? I'm like, that is the
That's crazy.
most, that is the
What was your
most, I'm like,
podcast about,
bro,
by the
I
way?
understand. See that again?
What was your podcast about with you and your friend? Like, what was your kind of niche?
The concept was what we have going on now.
Uh huh. Okay. Yeah. So
That's
that
what I'm
was.
saying. That's what I'm saying. So even when even when I couldn't do it, or
Yeah.
even when I was struggling to do it with, say, my friend or my friends, um, when you get to introspect and you sit down by yourself, either by your place or at a cafe, and you're trying to align your thoughts and yourself and all those sort of things, you align. You know what I'm saying? And through that alignment, the perspective, or the clearer perspective that came, upon me was, you've been doing this wrong. You can't try having a nomadic podcast with, any of your friends that have never traveled. Because what's the point of being a nomad if that's what you're going to be speaking about? Because right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
like some of the conversations that are, that you might be speaking about in that podcast, maybe traveling to different countries, different food, how to make money online, and so forth. But you've been trying to get, a lot of your traditional friends, which have never traveled, or don't have any online business. So
Hmm.
essentially, what you need to do is, you need to look at, all of, the friends that you've made whilst traveling, filter down the list and see as to who you can possibly propose that concept to. But
Hmm.
the podcast was supposed to be about this, exactly what we having, but I wanted to have it with a non-traveler, or like a tradition, a traditional person.
Oh, okay. Was it like
That's actually quite
intentionally
weird.
like that
Yeah.
for the unique point of view? Like you wanted to do it like that for the unique point of view from his side, and then your side is like different, or is it?
I hadn't really thought about it
Oh,
that
okay.
far, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying I'd basically gotten the whole concept wrong from the get-go, because like you can't try have like a nomadic podcast with someone that's never traveled, or
Yeah.
someone that doesn't have an online business, because you'll be speaking about how you've maybe been able to set up your online business. Maybe that person is supposed to give their perspective as well, in terms of how they were able to do that from their side, or from their perspective. you know so I had never really thought about it that far. But then the
Okay.
point that I'm making there is just to say, uh sometimes a lot of traditional people, like, if you listen to them attentively and you go with what they're saying, you might just find yourself, holding yourself towards your dreams and towards some of the stuff that you want to achieve. Like, say, in your example, I'm not sure as to how you look at your cousin, but then maybe say it's a cousin that you look up to, and in terms of maybe what is achieved at home and all those sort of things, and you value his opinion.
Hmm.
None of this could have been, we would have never met. You would have never had the experiences that, like,
Yeah.
bro, like the experiences that you've had in the last couple of years. I can tell you, sometimes you get a 40-year-old person who's never experienced what you've experienced in 2 years. But then they've
Yeah.
been in this planet for 40 years, but they've never done anything. It's like there's like no stories to tell to your nieces and nephews, because it's just like, hey, I've just been here and here. But with you, bro, you could even write a book to
Yeah,
say
for
this and
sure.
this happened, this and this happened.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, I agree. And actually, yeah, it's funny because I did. That guy was definitely like he was kind of like an older brother figure for me in a way, because like our families were
Yeah,
very close. He's like my mom's older sister's son, so it's basically he's like my older brother
yeah,
kind of. And yeah, so like I did look up to him a lot before, but he is kind of like you can tell something's wrong with him a little bit,
yeah, yeah.
especially once I started going on self improvement, you can start to see like there's a lot wrong with him. He's basically so I'll just break this down really quickly. Hamza, he's a self improvement guy I followed, right? And
Yeah.
he commonly anyone who watches Hamza will know what I mean. Like he'll commonly have this guy called Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's basically like the loser guy that we want to not be anymore. And Jeffrey's like
Okay.
so Jeffrey's like the guy who does all the bad habits, who like who always holds other people
It's
down, makes fun of people for doing new things, trying different things. He's kind of like the guy who always takes part in instant gratification. He's basically the guy who does all the bad habits, the guy we don't want to be, the guy who holds other people back, and we want to be like
yeah.
Adonis. But anyways,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
my cousins basically, all of my cousins, most of the guy cousins that I have are like Jeffries, like super Jeffries. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
guy is like the King Jeffrey. Like he's like he is like King Jeffrey. Like he's Jeffrey
Your
embodied.
cousin is the King Jeffrey?
Yeah, yeah. He's basic like yeah, he's
Yeah, I've
basically
got you.
King Jeffrey. Like he's
I've
the
got,
like he like actually embodies it. And we laugh at it like as a joke, but like, he's like very serious. Like you gotta realize like it's a grown man, like 32-year-old, 33-year-old man who's like very
yeah,
serious, like telling you like, dude, like what are you doing? Like you can't be doing this. Yeah.
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 That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's funny too
What's
because
also what's al- yeah,
I was just saying it's funny too because like for example like I could like logically break it down like I'm telling them the funnel thing right like am I getting 1,000 views on a video on a YouTube video, some of those people are going to be very interested. Obviously, yeah, a lot of people might be like you, where they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, it's like whatever, who cares? Yeah, maybe like a few people will be like that, but you gotta realize like you're like probably like the top 5% hater because you're kind of my older cousin, so you don't see me as credible. All those things, I understand, but it's kind of naive. It's stupid to be like everyone else is going to be the exact same as you. Like there's going to be people all across the spectrum.
yeah, that is so true. That is so true. But one of the things that I actually learned, and I learned this from MTV Jesse. So he was part of the NALC group, the guys from Canada.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so he was on a podcast and they were speaking about to say when you're doing anything on a public domain, right? You're not trying if you do become a Mr. Beast, yeah, sure, that's amazing, because that means you've amassed like a huge following and all those sort of things,
Mm-hmm.
but like at the end of the day, you don't have to become like a Mr. Beast to be successful, online. And they were speaking about this concept of saying you need 1,000 people that mess with you. So imagine you've got say 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? And that's all it is. That's like where you are on your YouTube.
Yeah.
But of those 5,000 subscribers, you've got 1,000 people that totally mess with you.
Mm-hmm.
So totally mess with you in the sense that if you've got a Patreon account, they subscribed to that
Oh.
Patreon.
Yeah.
Whenever you drop match, they buy the match. Whenever you come up with an online fitness program or like an upgraded version and all those sort of things, or whether it's a healthy diet plan and all those sort of things, they buy it. Like so essentially 1,000 people that mess with you could make you a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need 10,000 people, you don't need like 100,000 people to do that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so there's money to be found in a smaller base of people that just mess with you. It's not to say that you have to
Yeah.
have a crazy following and just have like crazy numbers
Yeah,
to be
that's like
successful, right?
yeah, and that's like probably like the early basics of like entrepreneurs and business. A lot of people who aren't in the space think you need to be like the top dog, like be like millions of views, like millions of subscribers in order to make it, and only those guys are gonna make money, and the guys at the bottom aren't. But yeah, it's not really like that. Yeah, you just need, like you said, 1,000. It would be crazy. Thousands, like yeah, you're literally gonna be like making millions a year if you have 1,000 people who are like loyal to you. But even if you just have a few, like a lot of I know a lot of people, they have five, three, two people even. Like if you sell, if they really believe in you, you're providing them enough value. That's all you really need, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.